I do want to get to something you said earlier, Rob, about, 50-50. Obviously, when we have these conversations about 50-50 is always such a divisive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask y'all, like, what are some ways that y'all, together contribute to the finances, within a marriage?
Well, pretty much my wife is a stay-at-home mother.
Mm-hmm.
I've retired my wife early in our relationship, and I'm of course the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
But what she did to contribute to that was she got us to where we were at today. So basically, she helped pay off my credit card bills. So after she graduated college, she worked. I helped get her a job. She helped pay off my credit cards so that I'm in good standings in order to own a home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already in a career. She helped me to advance in my career by being a wife early before we were even married.
Yeah.
She would help make my breakfast in the morning. She would make my lunch, cook dinner for me, and like I said, she would also she would work also too in the same place where we work at, and then
I was in the warehouse. He was in the office.
Work to clear my debts. So that I can own a home and then start a family with her.
Yeah.
So I basically told her that I owe my whole life to you, for that. So as far as finances, I pretty much am the provider. I'm the sole provider for my family.
Right.
But also too, my wife, being a stay-at-home mother, you see the thing is that you can't put a value to that.
Mm-hmm.
Being a stay-at-home mother, I mean the salary for that has to be around like $300,000 a year. That's your nurse when you're sick. That's your short order cook. That's your chef, your sous chef. She does all that shit. Your maid, homeschool, because she homeschools our children, and daycare. I mean, how can you put a price tag on that? That's priceless.
Right.
So that's what she actually brings more of a value to our relationship and to our household than I would say that I do. I do make six figures. I work in public service procurement management for our state finance, dealing with retirements. But the thing is, even though that I have a great career, she brought that. She brought about that. I just was there in the role. I fulfilled the position at work, and I kept advancing, and I owed it all to her. And I promised that I'm going to, squeeze every penny out of this career that I possibly can, and I owe it back to my family.
Yeah, I want to just point that this was a team effort that we acknowledged by sitting down. When you talked about finances, right? So one of the first things we did, we got together young. So you're talking about very young. We didn't have much. So when that happened, we knew we had to have a plan. Well, I was fresh out of college with no career, no job, nothing, but, a degree. He was already in a job. He just graduated too, was in a job and stuff though. So from there we said, okay, well, what do we want our life to look like after this? We know we're not going to be here. So what do we want it to look like? He said, well, I would love to be the full provider. Okay, so how can we do this? How can we get you to the point where you're doing that? And then we sat down together and figured out, okay, well, if I can work here, he was working in the office. He got me a job in the warehouse. I was able to then work, and we figured out budgeting. Hey, if we can pay off our credit cards here, then we can get, your credit score up. I didn't have a credit score, so it made more sense for me to help invest in him doing that because it was quicker. We could get to our destination faster. So that was our focus. We were like, okay, if I can help do this, and work that way, and then apply for jobs constantly. He, was working hard sometimes after work. If I didn't, have anything throughout the day, I was applying for jobs for him to help get into other, careers. I was helping him out with schoolwork until he had finished. He, continued his career a little more with schooling. So I was helping out with that, figuring out ways that I could help put him into the position to where we agreed, okay, you're going to be the provider. This is also how we can get there. And then after that, what is it going to look like? Me as a stay-at-home mom, having kids, am I going to homeschool? How are we going to prepare for that? And just being in a constant motion of planning and moving towards goals, checking goals off together, not a competition. I wasn't interested in competing with my man just because I had a degree. That wasn't my focus. I wanted to be with him. I realized that we are better and stronger together, and that if I could put my money, make it our money, then we together can advance in a much better place than where we were. And it worked. It got us here. But it required selflessness. And that's why I said that was so important, because that was the number one thing that I honestly took from my childhood in a way, because I growing up in a traumatic childhood, sometimes you become a people pleaser, trying to please, and to not get, abused or whatever. So that naturally for me turned into always being hyper vigilant of paying attention to stuff. So from that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be selfish in this matter. Of course, I would love to be a stay-at-home mom, but I understand that it takes work to get there. A man is not going to just, I mean, it's fortunate to just be there. You know, that's ideally, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep,
ideally, you don't sign up for the struggle of, and I believe that's why a lot of marriages end, because you get married so early and it's hard growing up together. It's hard doing that together. But if you're already a man who's in a good position, and then you are able to then choose a wife and bring her into your kingdom in a way, you set yourself up to be in more control, and not in the sense of control of trying to control her, but in the sense of how your relationship will move and where the direction and flow of the relationship will go. And it's on one accord, not so much she's fighting with you, but y'all working together, because that's really what it's about. Finances too, that's huge. It's not about who makes more money, but how y'all can do it together.
That's beautiful.
That was really cool.
Star and Ace, I do want to get to y'all as well, because you know, right now in society we do have more women working in the workforce and stuff like that. Inflation is up there, like, you get what I'm saying? So you know,
toilet paper rolls cost more money.
You know what I mean? So you know, obviously a lot of guys would like to be in a position where they could, you know, be a full-time provider, but you know, depending on where you live, it can be kind of difficult, especially in New York, when they say 100K is equivalent to like 36,000. Like, that's kind of tough. Like, you get what I'm saying? So what are some ways for people to manage finances together? Like,
Well, yeah. So for us, I mean, we've been together since I was in college. So before I even went to law school or anything like that. So she wasn't even sniping me for money like that. And, you know, so we weren't even really at that time even thinking about finances like that. But I guess over time, as we were together, we sort of started helping each other do this, helping each other do that. And so I guess at this point, now that we're actually married, like, I probably pay maybe 95% of the bills. And she works also in the medical field. And so what she uses her money for is incidental stuff in the house, like stuff for the pets. She buys me stuff all the time, like clothes and stuff like that. And also, just like what you were saying, she helped me pay off some of my credit cards so we can try and get our money right together. Like, she has her own money, but also is trying to, you know, give me money to put in our savings account together so we can then use it to do this. She's always asking me, you know, should I give you money for this so we can do that? Right? So she's always trying to contribute. And I think when people talk about 50-50, it's like, it's never going to be 50-50, because unless you work at the same place and have the exact same salary. So it's just like, I think 50-50 to me more means that y'all both put in as much effort as you're able to put in.
Yes.
So I make also well over 6 figures, and she doesn't make nearly as much money as I do. So she shouldn't be responsible for the same amount of bills or anything that I should be responsible. She should be responsible for what she can pay. Now, if we decide in the future that she would want to stay home and not do that, then she could do that too. But I think that's a case-by-case basis, and depending on what you want to do. Because, for example, for us, it seems like it's more advantageous for us, for her to continue working and to help build our savings even further that way. And then at a future time, we'll have money to do whatever we want to do. So I think that people have to think of the best way to compromise with what you have and what you have available. So if you work at McDonald's and your husband is a surgeon, I mean, maybe you wouldn't want to work at McDonald's because they're not paying you enough there. But use what you have, contribute what you have. The problem is when you have one spouse that just sits there and says, you be a protector and provider, and I will do nothing.
Right, exactly.
And when you try to say, well, maybe you should do something, they get upset. They get offended. How dare you say that I should cook a meal?
That's sassy. They gonna say you
It's
sassy.
sick.
Like,
It's honestly sick. It's like your mom used to cook your dad dinner. You can't fry some fish, nothing. So that's why it's like those type of relationships are gonna end up failing for sure, because I think I'm not sure if this is correct, but I think maybe in the top 3 or top 2 reasons for divorces and breakups is financial reasons. So it's just like, get your money right in the relationship so that doesn't make you see your partner in a different way, because I feel like once you see your partner as greedy, or even if you are the partner that doesn't make a lot of money and you see your other partner as stingy and they don't want to give you money or whatever, it's done for.
You should want to strive to be the best with your partner. As she said, it's a teamwork. Why aren't you striving to build each other up? It's all about communication and putting in effort. That's all it takes is effort. It's all it is.
Yeah, and setting goals
Yeah.
together. Like, legitly, y'all sit down and figure out, like, who is in the better position for what and how y'all can accomplish these goals together, not separately. Like she's saying, not separately at all. Like, it really, and even if, like, it requires maybe, I don't know, moving different jobs and moving around, y'all have to, you know, just do what you have to do and never, like, get content.
It's like chess. Moving the boards and pieces, like,
so
just
it
to
works
move
out.
forward.
Mhm.
We just saw a video of a woman that left her husband because he lost his job, or her fiance because he lost his job. She left him the same day.
Same day.
He came home. He said, "I got fired." He didn't want to tell her why he got fired. She got a cardboard box with her shit in it by the boogie out.
Immediately
He talking about,
packing up.
where's the ring? She not wearing it no more. She said, "You go find it." I was just like,
yeah, that's horrible. And you know, that's really sad because a lot of people would think like, oh, if your husband loses their job or whatever, like, that's, you know, you, what do you do during that time? Well, duh, you work together and figure out together. You'd be like, oh, all right, we're here. I'm going to be real moment of transparency. One moment in our time years ago at this job my husband was working at, they literally told him y'all had like, what was it, like a month before layoffs? When I say we went into action mode, we won't play no games. Like, it was just like, okay, here's what we got to do. This is what we got to do. Even to this day, I'm still looking for ways. I'm always looking for ways to make money. I sell body butters. I make deodorants. I make lip balms. I'm always like, it's not like the aspect of you just gotta, you know, if you're a stay-at-home mom, this is all you're doing. You're, like he said, not doing nothing, you know, or not wanting to cook, not wanting to do anything. Finances and helping with finances can look in different ways, like whether that's saving money because you are cooking meals, being resourceful, like what things are you doing to help keep the money if you ain't bringing in no money? What's ways that you helping cutting costs? All of that contributes to the marriage. Like all of that will help y'all stay afloat. And it's not even about like where you're at this moment and this is where it's always going to be, but always like, okay, how can we keep going? Like she said, how can we get better? How can we keep moving? Because inflation, like I'm talking about, inflation goes up every day. So y'all forever got to keep progressing and making more money. Like I remember when you first started making 100,000, he was like, well, shit, this ain't nothing. And it's like, because he said, I remember
taxes
he said,
is wild. That's
that's
a crazy tax
ago.
bracket.
So imagine like now when inflation is higher, you're like, you know, you got to keep moving and keep it going. So.
Ladies, what would you say to younger women who likes to work and they embrace working and stuff like that, but they feel like the sacrifice that you guys would make for your man is more like a slave mentality, or you're taking a weaker role? Because, you know, a lot of women now argue the fact that you have to just be at home, or you're not making your own money, but still wants a man to provide for them all the time and do everything a man's supposed to do, but they don't want to do their part as a woman, or they'll question everything that you would suggest for them to be as a woman in a relationship.
I don't think it's sacrifice. I did just want to say that. Do you look at it like that? I don't look at it as sacrifice. Okay. So again, I think that's perspective how it plays. Because to me, that's not sacrifice at all. No. Helping him is what we're supposed to do. We're a team.
You both did it for each other.
Yeah. So it's like, even when women say like, oh, I'm giving up this, or I don't want to do this, or I like working, you know, that's not. What about the team? Again, go back to the whole idea of relationship is about being selfless. You're working together. Of course, you're getting your needs met because he's making sure your needs is met and you're making sure his needs is met. So it's not like your needs aren't being met, but it's taking the I out of it, and I want to do this for me, and I'm trying to do it for me. But what you
did, right, for example, right, you put a lot on the line by helping him with his credit building him. So some women will look at you like, I would never do that. He would have to be up already for them to be willing to put that type of effort in. So a lot of women wouldn't go on your lane, which I respect 100%. You get what I'm saying? I just want to understand, how do we express those words to younger women that may not know what you guys did for the betterment of your relationship?
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying.
Because it's about where you want to be, not where you're at. So if where you're at isn't where you want to be, then you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to be.
True.
So that's going to mean if you meet a guy and he exhibits the qualities that you like as a husband, but maybe the finances aren't there, well then baby, that's where you help at. That's where you figure out how you can get him to that point, so then you guys can be where you want to be.
Definitely.
It's like at a time, if you're attracting a man, right, and he's not there, you have to also look at yourself and see, well, am I 100% there to be a wife to him? Whether that's mindset, am I completely ready to be mindset wife worthy, step up to the plate? If he was 100% ready, am I ready like that too? Or do I maybe have some work to do, some growing up to do, or something I need to do as well? So sometimes it may require, hey, yeah, you may both need some work because y'all both aren't there, and that's okay. But eventually you'll get to that point. So it's just really all about seeing where you're at and just saying, okay, we're here now, and that's okay. Have some grace with each other. We all need grace with each other, especially coming up in this age. I respect the modern man so much because unlike the traditional man, he didn't have the high rate of inflation going on, all these other extenuating circumstances that make it harder for a man to be that sole provider. Like back then, you could have one job and provide for a family of 8 so easy. Exactly. Exactly. Right. So where's that grace? Because if we're all not there, we have to have grace so that we can get there. And that's all it's really about, you know.